Okay, now as far as someone's shaping goes, we have to be cautious about the way we handle this. This is someone's face and someone's figure, let's say, if it's a full body shot. So we have to be cautious about that and recognize that we're not trying to do something that's so artificial that it doesn't look out of the norm. But let's look at a couple things. First, her lips. Her bottom lip is a little bit, I don't know if it's about her pose, but it's a little bit out of shape here. So what we're going to do is tap the Q key and the B key to get the brush. Black is my foreground color, 100% brush. And I'm going to select everything in the bottom part of her lip. Tap the Q key, edit, copy merge, Command V to edit paste. And now I'm going to get the V key to move this. And I'm going to move this just a little bit more so it's centered. Now I can free transform this and warp this as well. So I can change the shape, so I can maybe bring this in a little bit more. And change some of the shape of her lips a little bit. Get the V key, and if you start seeing things like this, like these double lines here, not to worry, because we're going to use our masking tools to take care of those. So if I get the masking tool, get the brush, I have black as my foreground color, and I'm going to zoom in. So I can see I've got two issues here. So I can just get the mask and I can just go back to one issue. I can get my white mask and just go back and forth with this masking to just finesse the lip structure that I'm looking to get in place. Same thing with the interior of her lip. Just making sure that you're just masking this back. And if you don't want this kind of curl here, we can very easily just retouch that out, getting it in a new layer. I'll hit the J key to get to my retouch tool, smaller brush, and hold the control key down and click and just change the angle. And then option click here close to by, and just handle a couple of those little edges just to take care of that, the edginess of that. So finessing that back in, not too difficult of a thing, and then her lips now are much straighter. So we have, this is going to be her bottom lip, and this will be retouch lip. And now let's move to her nose. Tap the Q key and then the B key for the brush. Bigger brush, and let's select the good part of all her nose. Make sure we get more than enough. So we go way up the bridge of her nose, way outside the nostrils, and we've got room to work because we're going to be pulling stuff from all of these areas. Tap the Q key, edit, copy, merged, Command V to edit paste. So we have here, we've got her nose. So we type in nose, and from here we're going to go to the filter and liquify. And liquify is going to bring in just her nose. So we're going to go up a little bit larger. Now I can see that I don't have a full selection here. So I'm going to cancel this and go back, and I'm going to trash this section of the nose. And let's go back and make sure that we do have a good selection. It's always beneficial to go back and make sure you've got it all selected. Don't try to make do at that point, because if we had, we probably would have gotten marginal results and stuff that would have been, we may have had to go back on many times to correct. So I'm going to make sure I get a good selection. Tap the Q key, edit, copy, merged, and Command V. And this is going to be nose, and we're right back to where we were before. So we have the nose, filter, liquefy. Now we have a better selection of the nose to work with. So now when we come down here, a couple tools to be concerned with. The forward warp tool, probably the most used part of this, and the pucker tool and the bloat tool. So the pucker tool will bring things towards the center. So if you get the pucker tool, you get this big brush. It's going to basically, as you tap, it'll bring things towards from the outside of the brush to the inside, and the bloat tool does the exact opposite, from the center out. The warp tool pushes pixels around, and I make the most out of this, and we will also look at moving this over. So we'll get a little bit bigger brush, so we have a little bit bigger surface area, and we'll just slightly move in, because we want these highlights to be fairly straight. This is what kind of makes her nose look like it's more crooked than it really are these highlights that are not exactly straight. So let's move this in, this down, this up over. Now you can actually start to look at the advanced mode, and the advanced mode is going to give you many more tools. It's going to allow you to show the backdrop area, as well as some of the masking you can do. You can actually here put a freeze mask on this, so I can put freeze mask and make sure that I don't want to move any of these pixels. So I start painting in areas around her nose that I don't want the pixels to be moved. So it's going to do its best not to move those pixels as we start to go about our retouch. So I'll get a little bit bigger brush, and we'll start to move this around a little bit and try to straighten out and bring in her nose. Now, you're using these tools, the pucker and bloat tool. We could use the pucker tool to, tap a couple little taps just to bring that nose in a little bit, or we could go the opposite way with the bloat tool. We'll get this tool in here a little bit more, and if that's looking pretty good, we'll just hit OK. It's going to return those results, and we'll see those results on her nose initially. So her nose is looking a lot better. I mean, there are still some things that we want to address with the nose, but overall, they're looking pretty nice. We have a darkened area over here, and similar to what happens with someone's face is everything, you could draw a line right down the middle, and everything to the left should mirror pretty much to the right, for the most part. So let's look at this by tapping the Q key to make a selection of this part of her nose, which is the left part of her nose, which is actually more favorable than this. I'm not really crazy about the flare that I'm getting here. So if I tap the Q key and go edit, copy, merged, edit, paste, and then I'm going to type this right nose. And then with this selected, I'm going to go under Edit, Transform, Flip horizontally, get the Move tool, and now I can move this over to here. Free transform, I can tilt this over a little bit more, get this into place where I like this, so this starts to look a little bit nicer. Now I'm not concerned about the lighting here, because I'm really interested in these areas here. So that little flare there will probably be what we're looking for. Make sure that's where we want it. And now I'll get a mask, get a brush, painting with black, and I'll drop the opacity and the flow down so I can feather this in. And here we're really only interested in this end. You know, the interior part of the nose here, the shaping was a natural part of her nose. Now, the shadow is a bit excessive under here for my taste. So for my taste, I might come back, get white as my foreground color, and get a lighter opacity and try to bring some of that back. Even lighter opacity, and try to brush some of that back. And all I'm doing is masking this back and forth to get kind of the mix that I'm looking for. Now this is not being cooperative as far as getting rid of that kind of stripe here. And we'll address this area, which to me looks more excessive now than it did before, but we can actually go back and add in part of the nose and ease out some of that. So we have much better nostril configuration now with the nose set up. And we can kind of go back and forth like this to get an idea of what we need to mask in and mask out. So underneath her nose probably needs to be masked out a little bit. So there we have her nose. Now in the final steps of this, we're going to do the same thing with up here. We noticed her wrists. But here we're going to make use of a different set of tools, as we will with her shoulders in the next movie.